Okay, welcome to MSUA Game Changers Webcast, where we speak with satellite and mobile connectivity thought leaders about industry trends and share what you need to know about the future of mobile satellite communications. I'm your host, Roger Lanto, and I'm excited to introduce Robert Bills, president of NAL Research, to discuss the merger with Blue Sky Network and what it means for the two brands going forward. Robert talks about the future of connectivity and innovation and emerging applications, including new APNT and Iridium STL capabilities, along with developments in maritime and uncrewed solutions. We'll discuss how customers are driving demand and what it takes to be a leader in today's market. But first, a word about Robert. Robert Bills brings over 16 years of commercial and Department of Defense civilian experience to his position at NAL Research. And for those who are not familiar, NAL provides advanced Iridium satellite modems and Iridium tracking terminals from design through integration to the defense, research, and commercial sectors. Robert's career has focused on meeting the current operational needs for U.S. warfighters. His multidisciplinary technical leadership includes experience in tactical TF communications, microelectronics, advanced additive manufacturing, autonomous unmanned systems, and embedded sensors. He has held a wide range of positions leading research development, test and evaluation, integration, and fielding technical capabilities for high-risk missions. Immediately prior to joining NAL Research, he worked for the Naval Surface Warfare Center, Dahlgren Division in Dahlgren, Virginia. Robert successfully led the Asymmetric Systems Division, a multidisciplinary organization focused on advanced payloads, special technology integration, intelligence and surveillance systems, biometrics and forensics, and expeditionary command and control to field multiple nationally significant technical capabilities in support of the special operations and intelligence communities. Robert earned his Bachelor of Science in Computer Science from the Georgia Institute of Technology in Atlanta, Georgia, and a Master of Arts in National Security and Strategic Studies from the Naval War College in Newport, Rhode Island. So, okay, Robert.
It's always a mouthful when you read those things, Roger.
Yeah, and for on too many occasions, I've chosen not to, and I think it's important, so that's why I chose to.
Yeah.
So, you are now the president of NAL
absolutely.
Research, which includes the Blue Sky Network brand. Congratulations on the merger. So, although we've already heard a lot about you, tell us a little about yourself and what you're bringing to the role.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, the time that I spent as working for the Navy before I came here, one of the things that I really loved about it, that organization that I was leading at the end, I had been part of that for many years and had the opportunity to lead it in the time period shortly before I came to NAL. And what was really fantastic about that was our organization was a little bit like Q from James Bond, right? We did really hard problems, special things for special people, but it was also incredibly meaningful. We created capabilities that I know because I saw the reports and ensured hundreds, if not thousands, of military members came home safely from conflict zones around the world. We really made an impact, and that was, it was actually one of the things that was super fulfilling and maybe even made it a little bit of a challenge to consider leaving that opportunity to come to NAL. But one of the things that I really loved about NAL before arriving and even more since then is that, our mission as a company from the founder, Nak Wong, until, through me leading it now, has always been about innovation that saves lives. And so a lot of the technical skills matched and a lot of the kind of customer base was similar to what I had experience with working as a government employee. But coming here, we did many similar things, and we today make technology products and capabilities that ensure, that people, both military and with Blue Sky, broader than that, who have to work in challenging and dangerous circumstances around the world, have the opportunity to communicate, know where they are, and come home safely, at the end of whatever task they're doing. So that's really fun. And, I have always been very innovation focused. You can't go to a place like Georgia Tech without being a bit of a nerd and loving technology. And so, all of that experience, solving really challenging problems for the defense space has transitioned really nicely to working here at NAL Research.
Well, it also speaks to the broader MSUA membership. I'd say a good portion of that membership is focused on these kind of urgent tasks, whether it's defense or maritime, critical critical capabilities. So let's talk about the merger some more. Can you tell us what the merger of NAL Research and Blue Sky Network means for the two brands, your capabilities, and your customers?
Absolutely. So one of the really fun things about and exciting things about the merger was it's been extremely complementary. Both teams, we had worked with each other in the industry, solving problems for customers for many years. We've both been in the Iridium ecosystem. Hang on one second. My computer's trying to make a phone call over satellite. It does happen. Give me one moment here. Lose my train of thought. So our merger has been extremely complementary. We, from a technology perspective, NAL classically, I think many people have thought about us as being very hardware oriented, but really leading innovators, solving difficult problems, vis-a-vis kind of the types of things that I said I had done and that we do, before coming here. And Blue Sky, from a technology perspective, has had great hardware products in their own right that were very differentiated from NAL. But I think one of the greatest strengths and one of the things I was most jazzed about getting to work, with the Blue Sky team and then making us into one organization was some of their strengths in cloud-based fleet management and tracking systems. Our Sky Router system that operates in the background for a lot of our customers, enabling them a single place where they can go and manage their fleets, manage their tools that are out working remotely in a really seamless interface. That's a unique strength that Blue Sky brought that I think has been really, really nice addition and has given us opportunity to do some things that, maybe we wouldn't at NAL historically have thought about doing before. On a market front, NAL in the communities that we work in, we're well known for being, I would say, very military, government, defense oriented, and so well respected on that front. When I got here, one of our leading taglines was just that we're the largest provider of Iridium SATCOM capability to the U.S. government and have been for many, many years. Blue Sky is, again, very complementary to that. While they had some defense work that they did, they also have a really nice, we have a nice broad commercial enterprise set of customers working in, regulated industries such as oil and gas, various that have, remote workers, safety requirements. And so, works really nicely with what we're doing. And Blue Sky also has a tremendously valuable international set of customers, for commercial enterprise applications as well as for defense applications, including ones that are, sort of non-governmental in nature. So there are a variety of organizations that operate in disaster and conflict zones around the world that are sort of NGO type organizations that need the capability to know where their personnel are, communicate with them at all times, in all places, in all weather. And so, marrying our sets of technology along with, the customer bases that we both support has been a really nice mix together.
Yeah, that's once again core MSUA DNA, being their mission critical solutions. So it sounds like product innovation is in full force for the company. Given your experience, where do you see the market heading for connectivity solutions?
Yeah, so I think first off, we are seeing what seems like an unprecedented increase and really compelling options in the market for connectivity capabilities. And, it seems like every week there's some new announcement of something else that will be in the market in the not too distant future. And so what we see is that, our customers, they are increasingly wanting the ability to leverage multiple capabilities in a kind of a quote unquote unified offering. And, that is for a variety of reasons. So one of them is that I think quite simply just reliability and resilience, and that may be desired, whether it's from a regulatory or a safety perspective, and you need sort of redundant communication paths, that's tends to be more common in things like aviation, or, you want it for just the purposes of flexibility to enable cost leverage from a customer perspective, or, just that different offerings that are in the market provide, different feature availability, and they want to be able to access both of those things. And then on top of that, everybody wants to get 10 pounds in a 5-pound sack. So they want to, in lightweight, low power packages, which is especially true, from the kind of, you can see it. All of us are very familiar with that from the cell phones that we carry in our pockets. But, if you are working in the uncrewed space for aviation or maritime, you see the same sorts of things where, those use cases are very power constrained, they're very weight constrained. And so, they want the ability to get redundancy and resiliency and flexibility all at the same time in a small package. And so with that in mind, we've really, NAL's always, we are known in the handheld space. And so we've always had a design and a product philosophy that tends to orient towards really small, low powered things. That's why Iridium has always been a phenomenal partner for us, because it provides really great capabilities, along those product lines. And I think now that there's these increasing options in the marketplace, Iridium's moving out in that direction. There are other things going on. It's going to, I think, just continue to drive a desire for, those types of multi-threaded capabilities for customers' various use cases. And so we're excited about, we're, I think, well positioned from our design philosophy. And I think when you add in sort of blue skies, sky router back-end systems that can really, from an enterprise perspective, help create a unified sort of management functionality that goes with all of that, I think it's really powerful. And so I think that's sort of where I see like big pushes in our industry going, and is part of why, you see partnerships and consolidations like what we've done between NAL and Blue Sky make a lot of sense. So you can marry different types of capabilities to go accomplish that.
As an Iridium partner, I have to ask you as a side note, have you read Eccentric Orbits?
I have. Yeah, that was one of the first things when I got here. Nak Wong, who's the founder of NAL, he handed me like 3 books, some of them a little bit older, Eccentric Orbits being one of them. And then he happened to have a signed copy, so he shared that with me. And it's a fantastic story of, it feels a little cloak and dagger at points and all that sort of stuff, but just what Dan Colosi and all of those guys did.
It starts. They're about to push the button and deorbit the constellation. It's like no, not so fast.
Exactly.
Okay, I'm going to hit you up.
And like if you think about it today. Go ahead.
I was just going to say I'm going to hit you up for the Robert Bills reading list, but go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, it really was an incredible story, and that story is continuing today, right? I mean, LEO constellations today, some people might say they're starting to feel a little bit pedestrian, but kudos to Iridium and Globalstar and all the folks who brought those capabilities out and made them, really proved that you could have those types of systems in place and provide extremely reliable, capable service that's global in coverage. I mean, we used, when I was a government person, we used Iridium extensively simply for those reasons. It was super reliable. You could get it anywhere you needed it. And there's a fantastic story to go with it as well.
So I come out of the automotive industry, so I do want you to expand on the APNT kind of story. So in automotive, as you might imagine, we sort of take GPS and GNSS for granted. And there are those in the industry that understand it's vulnerable and cannot be solely relied on in more mission critical situations. So what can you tell us about your new APNT capabilities? Why are these capabilities necessary, and how are you leading the market in this area?
Yeah, I will say this was one of the things that I found most exciting when I got to come here to NAL, because not everybody knows it, but GPS or GNSS, if you think in an international sense, it underpins like nearly everything any of us do on a daily basis. If you got up in the morning and you thought about from the moment that you got out of bed until you eat your breakfast, you read the news, you come to the office, you spend all day on a computer at a Teams call or whatever, your thing is. You travel around the world, you go home, you watch your internet, TV, or whatever it might be. I would be willing to bet that GPS PNT impacts like nearly every minute of every day for almost the entire global population. Yet most people don't realize that because it's such a powerful capability that was so innovative and revolutionary at the time, but now it's like woven into the fabric of what we do. And so what's, I think, also interesting is, I go back over a decade ago, had been starting to pay attention to the challenges that we thought were on the horizon for GPS, because while it is an incredibly powerful capability, the signals can be very fragile in a lot of ways. And so now we are starting to see that, right? It's what was once sort of the purview of mostly military oriented people has become very commonplace sort of knowledge of the types of challenges that are existing around the world. And so, I don't know whether you've ever looked up gpsjam.org, but I would encourage you to go check that website out, and all of your listeners to check that website out. It's a really interesting view into the kind of almost up to that day status of where GPS interference is being experienced around the world. And you will find, and no surprise right now in Eastern Europe, in the Eastern Mediterranean, it's hugely impactful to everybody operating in that area. And so, so that's sort of, as I think about how important it is, and now, it's becoming very clear that it's threatened in many ways and creating risk in areas, and not just in areas of safety, but in areas of commerce as well. Not everybody realizes that the aviation system, the timing of all these platforms, aircraft moving around, and then being able to fly in close proximity to each other is tightly coupled to the effectiveness of these systems. And so from an NAL and a blue sky perspective, NAL, we were a partner with Satellus early on, going back nearly a decade now, and have worked very closely with them to help bring to market, their capabilities over the last few years. And so as a result have had kind of a front row seat with one of the leading innovators in the market space for what could be done to try to supplement GPS and GNSS to, add resiliency. And so when, they were recently acquired and became part of the Iridium family, I was super excited about that because we've been close partners with Iridium for many years, and Iridium is moving very quickly to make, I think, the powerful sort of capability that is in now what we're calling Iridium STL, to make that available to the world. And NAL is very excited because, we're on our 4th generation of receiver for the capability, right? So, when it got announced this summer, we were already running at full speed, and, have a pretty, I can't speak in a lot of detail just yet, but perhaps have a pretty sophisticated roadmap of product capabilities that we're going to be bringing forward in the coming, months and years that I think will, really help provide valuable location and timing and other navigational capabilities to the world as they're starting to desperately be needed.
So, as you say, you recently announced a new maritime solution with Iridium STL. What does this new solution enable? How is this a game changer for maritime connectivity and navigation?
Yeah. So Blue Sky, for many years, has offered a product called the Citadel solution. It's an anti-piracy solution that we historically used to provide voice capabilities for maritime platforms that have to operate in areas where they would be concerned about, piracy or other emergencies that they want a backup, communications capability. Last year, we introduced what we call the Skylink Citadel. And the Skylink Citadel expanded upon that original Citadel capability with Iridium's Certus services, and expanded it, to add additional voice capabilities, to add some data connectivity, so that if you're operating in an emergency capacity in a Citadel room or otherwise, that you have those those capabilities so that you're not just making a Iridium phone call, right? But you now can have other data capabilities as necessary to be safe. The addition of Iridium STL to that product, which we just announced, I was over in SMM Hamburg here a couple of weeks ago in Germany, and we had the opportunity to be with Iridium when we announced the addition of Iridium STL to that product. For us, it was a very sort of obvious and straightforward addition. And if you're tracking in the maritime space, you can read, articles about things happening off in the Eastern Mediterranean and the Red Sea and those sorts of places, and go further north up into, areas around Finland and Norway, heavily maritime oriented cultures, environments, and commerce. And those places are experiencing severe GPS and GNSS interference, and even at times spoofing, where for those who aren't familiar with spoofing, it's essentially the ability to fake out a GPS receiver and make it think that it's someplace that it's not. And so it made a great deal of sense to us to add STL into the Citadel product, because it's explicitly meant for emergency circumstances.
Hasn't there been a lot of that in the South China Sea as well?
There has been, yeah. You can go see it. There are reports of it all over the world. I was just speaking with somebody, even in Southampton, right off the southern coast of the UK. There are, and for all sorts of reasons, not necessarily because anybody's doing anything illegal or purposefully disruptive, but GPS and GNSS gets interfered with for a variety of different reasons, whether it could be space weather, or it could be just somebody creates a radio service that gets a little out of hand and interferes with those bands. And so, whether you're operating in a place where there's active conflicts causing it or otherwise, I think it's become very apparent to us that it's a growing need for redundancy in these services. And what's really, there's some fantastic things about Iridium's new STL service, of which, it's a much more powerful signal than just commercial GPS. And so it provides a lot of ability to be able to continue to operate even if there's high-powered interference, purposeful or accidental, in an area. And then it provides a great safety net against potential spoofing activities as well that might occur. So, we're thrilled to have been partnered with Satellus and Iridium now for so long to help bring this, I think, increasingly critically needed capability forward. And we were excited to get our product launch with the Citadel, very quickly after Iridium's, bringing the Satellus team into the family.
And is NAL doing work in uncrewed aerial systems? What are some of the innovations going on there?
Yeah, so NAL actually has a long history of working with uncrewed systems, NAL and Blue Sky both. We have for many years provided Iridium capabilities for oceanographic platforms. There are in the oceanographic space, uncrewed undersea systems and surface systems have been used, for a very long time now to provide data connectivity for those types of platforms. And NAL has been one of the leading providers to, surface and undersurface systems for that purpose. And, when you start to think about the aviation space, we've also done the same things there with our classic, traditional Iridium narrowband services. And now with, the Certus services for midband and broadband capabilities, both NAL and Blue Sky over the last couple of years have moved out in a really strong way on that front. One of the things that I think is really exciting is that, Iridium's fundamental capabilities and the products that we've built around them, they are very lightweight and low powered, compared to, kind of traditional Ka, Ku band systems. And so, plus they operate in L-band, which makes them perfect for, all weather applications as well. And so NAL's Quicksilver and Blue Sky's Skylink products were integrated on multiple unmanned systems with a variety of different partners. One of the exciting things, we got to announce a couple of things earlier this year with American Aerospace Technologies, AATI. we've been working closely with them for a number of years and got one of the very first FAA waivers to fly in commercial airspace on their UAV platform. And, that was heavily enabled by our connectivity solutions that we provided to those. And then not too long after that, this summer, we announced a partnership with the University of North Dakota. They've got one of the premier aviation educational programs in the country, and they've got a phenomenal test space up in North Dakota. And so we have a partnership with them where we are, the FAA works very closely with them as well, trying out connectivity concepts in order to, sort of lead the way for kind of the future expected regulatory environment where you're going to have resiliency, redundancy, and all those things in those services. And so, we have always specialized in lightweight, low power, all weather global capabilities. And I think the uncrewed space, it's really exploding right now in terms of the applications that it's being used for, sort of in all sizes of platforms. And so we're really working hard to make sure that we make the types of capabilities they need for their business cases and their government use cases and missions available to them as quickly as possible.
I'm kind of curious in that regard, since it's such a focal point for innovation, everything coming together, and the demands, on the technology, lower cost and lower weight, et cetera. Is that where a lot of, as we say, young people are coming into the equation in the unmanned area?
I suppose that's a way to think about it. Certainly, I love talking to folks that are, I've got kids myself that, kind of just before the university age. And I mean, who can't get excited about, playing or getting to work with unmanned systems? So it is pretty, there's a huge need in this country for STEM oriented education and people to come into the workforce. And I find really consistently that working in uncrewed spaces for these types of platforms always gets people excited, whether you call it that or robotics. There's a whole range of programs. And, we're located here in Virginia. The Virginia University system is world class. And so we got Virginia Tech. They've got a phenomenal unmanned system capability. I've worked closely with them both here at NAL and when I was a government employee. And so, yeah, it's definitely extremely exciting and motivating. And I absolutely think it, motivates folks who are in the early stages of their careers or thinking about, what they want to do to get involved in those areas.
And where do I go to learn more about NAL research and what you're up to?
Yeah, so you can always go to nalresearch.com or blueskynetwork.com. The Blue Sky brand, we're going to keep that going forward. And so both of those websites are great places to go learn about what we're doing. And then just recently, we launched a new site called APNT, the letters APNT by NAL.com. And that is where we are starting to talk in a very direct and explicit way about what we're doing in the APNT space and some of the offering there. So today you can go on that site and you can see our low swap OEM modules that we are creating and offering to the marketplace and that we're working with multiple partners to integrate. And so those are excellent places to go learn about what we're doing and what we can do to help our industry partners.
Excellent. Okay. Thank you, Robert Bills. I want to thank the Mobile Satellite Users Association for hosting these sessions. You can learn more about the MSUA at msua.org. You can learn how to get our weekly newsletter that gives you updates on everything that's happening in the industry and shares information about upcoming events. And you can also find out how to become a member. We look forward to seeing you next time on MSUA's Game Changers Webcast. Thanks a lot, Robert.
Thank you.